Greetings, my fellow adventurers. It's Elara. Welcome back to our cozy sanctuary, where the ancient and powerful world of Norse mythology comes alive. So, find your most comfortable spot. Let the echoes of mighty gods, fierce battles, and the icy winds of Asgard surround you, and allow yourself to be swept away into the magic and legend of this timeless saga. Let me know in the comments where you're from and what time it currently is. Let's begin. The creation of the world, Ymir, and the birth of the gods. Long before the gods of Asgard ruled the 9 realms, before men walked the earth or the sun shone in the sky, there was only the great void, Ginnungagap. It was a place of endless nothingness, where neither time nor space existed. But from this emptiness, creation itself was born. This is the story of how the first giant, Ymir, came into existence, how the gods were born, and how the world as we know it was shaped. At the beginning of time, Ginnungagap stretched between 2 opposing realms. To the north lay Niflheim, a world of freezing mist and ice, while to the south lay Muspelheim, a realm of fire and scorching heat. As the cold winds of Niflheim blew southward, and the fairy flames of Muspelheim crept north, the 2 forces met in the void of Ginnungagap. The heat of Muspelheim melted the ice of Niflheim, and from the mingling of these 2 powerful elements, drops of water formed. From these drops, the first being, a giant named Ymir, was born. Ymir was no ordinary giant. As he slept, more life sprang forth from his body. From the sweat of his armpits came 2 other giants, one male and one female. From his legs, a 6-headed giant grew. Ymir was the progenitor of the race of Jotnar, the frost giants, and as more giants were born from him, they spread throughout Ginnungagap. While Ymir slept, the ice continued to melt, and from it emerged a great cow named Audumbla. Audumbla nourished Ymir with her milk, and in return, she survived by licking the salty ice around her. As she licked, something miraculous happened. The ice revealed the shape of another being. This was Buri, the first of the gods, who would become the ancestor of the Aesir. Buri had a son named Bor, who married a giantess named Besla, one of Ymir's descendants. Together, they had 3 sons, Odin, Vili, and Ve. These 3 brothers would go on to become the first of the Aesir gods, and their destiny was to bring order to the chaos of the world. As the gods grew in power, they realized that they could not coexist with the Jotnar, who were born from the chaotic nature of Ymir. The giants were wild and destructive, and the gods knew that the world could not be shaped with Ymir still alive. Odin, Vili, and Ve made a fateful decision. Ymir, the primordial giant, had to die. The brothers attacked Ymir, and after a long and violent struggle, they slew him. Ymir's blood poured forth in torrents, flooding Ginnungagap. Many of the giants were drowned in the flood, but some managed to escape to Jotunheim, where they would continue to exist and challenge the gods in the future. The gods then set to work using Ymir's body to create the world. From his massive corpse, they crafted the earth. His flesh became the land. His bones turned into mountains, and his teeth and shattered bones formed cliffs and boulders. His blood became the seas and rivers, while his skull was lifted high to form the sky. The gods took sparks from Muspelheim and set them in the sky as stars, and they placed the sun and moon in their proper paths to bring light to the world. From Ymir's eyebrows, they fashioned Midgard, the realm of men, a protective barrier to keep the giants at bay. Finally, the gods set the great tree Yggdrasil at the center of the world. Yggdrasil would be the cosmic tree that connected all the realms. Asgard, the home of the gods. Midgard, the home of men. Jotunheim, the land of giants, and all other realms, including Niflheim, the land of the dead, and Muspelheim, the realm of fire. As the gods surveyed their creation, they realized something was missing: life. Odin, Vili, and Ve found 2 tree trunks lying on the shores of Midgard and decided to shape them into the first humans. Odin breathed life into the wood. Vili gave them intelligence and emotion, and Ve gifted them sight, hearing, and speech. Thus, the first man, Ask, and the first woman, Embla, were born, and they were set to live in Midgard. The gods also created creatures to guard their realms. They placed Jormungandr, the great serpent, in the oceans surrounding Midgard, and Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, was bound by magic, though he would one day play a key role in the gods' downfall during Ragnarok. They assigned the sun and moon to be chased by 2 wolves, Sjöll and Hati, who would one day catch and devour them, signaling the start of Ragnarok. But while the gods had created order out of chaos, they knew that the balance they had established was fragile. The giants of Jotunheim, who had survived the great flood of Ymir's blood, were still plotting against the gods. Though the Aesir had defeated Ymir, the cycle of creation and destruction would continue, and even the gods themselves were not immune to fate. Odin, who had sacrificed so much to gain wisdom, understood that all things, even the gods, were bound by Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. The death of Ymir had been the first great act of creation, but it had also set into motion the events that would one day lead to the gods' own downfall. Yet, for now, the world was whole, and the gods took their place as rulers of the 9 realms, watching over the humans they had created. The journey of Thor and Loki to the land of the giants. In the time of the gods, before the coming of Ragnarok, there were many tales of the great Thor, god of thunder, and his mischievous brother Loki, the trickster. One such tale tells of their journey to the land of the giants, Jotunheim, a realm of frost and stone, where enormous beings, ancient as the world itself, plotted against the gods of Asgard. This is the story of how Thor and Loki, along with 2 companions, faced impossible challenges and outwitted the giants in a contest of power and wit. Thor grew restless in Asgard. The mighty god of thunder, with his hammer Mjolnir always close at hand, found the peace of the golden halls stifling. The tales of ancient battles stirred in his blood, and he longed for a challenge that would test his strength and skill. Loki, ever watchful and sly, noticed his brother's frustration. The trickster god's mind was already spinning a web of mischief. "It seems, brother," Loki began with a grin, "that your hammer has grown heavy in your hand. Perhaps the time has come to stretch those mighty arms of yours." Thor eyed him warily. He knew that when Loki was involved, trouble was never far behind. Yet, the idea intrigued him. "What do you suggest, Loki?" Thor asked, his voice filled with both curiosity and suspicion. Loki's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Why not venture to Jotunheim, the land of the giants? Surely there you would find foes worthy of your hammer. The Jotunar have always been our enemies, and there are whispers that they plot against the gods of Asgard. It would do us well to remind them of your strength." Thor's grip tightened on Mjolnir at the mention of the giants. Jotunheim was a place of immense danger, filled with colossal beings who could match the gods in power and cunning. But Thor's heart leaped at the thought of the challenge. "Very well," Thor said, standing tall. "We will journey to Jotunheim. But if we go, I will bring my hammer, and the giants will feel its wrath." Loki smiled, pleased with Thor's response. "Of course, brother, but strength alone will not be enough to outwit the giants. They are clever creatures, and their power rivals even ours." Together, the two gods set out on their journey, but they were not alone. Thor called upon Thjalfi, his loyal servant, a mortal known for his speed and bravery, and Röskva, Thjalfi's sister, who was swift and clever. The four companions traveled through the realms, crossing the great Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connected Asgard to the other worlds, until they reached the icy realm of Jotunheim. Jotunheim was a desolate, frozen land of towering mountains and endless snowfields. The air was thick with frost, and the ground trembled beneath the weight of the giants who roamed there. As the group ventured deeper into the land, they encountered a giant named Skrymir, whose size was beyond anything they had ever seen. Skrymir's footsteps shook the earth, and his laughter echoed like thunder through the mountains. Thor, ever ready for battle, gripped Mjolnir tightly, but Loki gestured for him to stay his hand. "Wait, Thor," Loki whispered. "Let us use our wits before your hammer speaks." Skrymir greeted the travelers with amusement. "I see that you are far from home, little gods. What brings you to Jotunheim?" "We seek shelter for the night," Loki replied, his voice smooth and calculated. "Perhaps you might offer us a place to rest?" At dawn, Skrymir rose, unaware of Thor's attempts to harm him, and bid the gods farewell with a mocking smile. "Perhaps you will fare better against the challenges ahead," he said, before disappearing into the mountains. Confused and frustrated, Thor and his companions continued their journey until they reached the grand fortress of Utgard, the heart of Jotunheim. Here, they encountered Utgard Loki, the ruler of the giants, who welcomed them into his hall, but warned them that no one entered without proving their worth through challenges. Utgard Loki offered each of them a test. For Loki, the challenge was one of gluttony. He was pitted against a giant named Logi in a contest to see who could eat the most food. Loki devoured the feast with unmatched speed, but Loki consumed not only the food, but the very plates and table as well. Loki lost the challenge, much to his frustration. Next came Thialfi, who was known for his swiftness. He was challenged to a race against a giant named Hugi. Thialfi ran faster than any mortal, but no matter how fast he was, Hugi always reached the finish line first. Thialfi, too, was defeated. Then, it was Thor's turn. He was challenged to 3 tests. First, he was asked to drink from a large horn and drain it in one gulp. Thor, confident in his strength, drank deeply, but the liquid seemed endless. No matter how much he drank, the horn remained full. Frustrated, he put it down, admitting defeat. For his second challenge, Thor was asked to lift a large cat off the ground. Thor, the strongest of the gods, wrapped his arms around the creature, but as he lifted, the cat seemed to grow larger and heavier. Despite his strength, Thor could barely lift one of its paws before setting it down again. Finally, Thor was challenged to wrestle an old woman named Ellie, who appeared frail and weak. But as Thor struggled against her, he found that she was far stronger than she appeared. Try as he might, he could not overpower her, and in the end, he was forced to admit defeat. Utgard Loki laughed heartily at their failures and mockingly sent them on their way. But as they were leaving, he revealed the truth. "You see, Thor," Utgard Loki said, "these challenges were illusions. The horn you drank from was connected to the sea itself, and you managed to lower its level, though you did not see it. The cat you tried to lift was none other than Jormungandr, the world's serpent, and lifting even one of its paws is an impossible feat. And the old woman you wrestled was Ellie, old age itself. No one can defeat time." Thor's eyes burned with fury at the deception, but before he could strike, Utgard Loki vanished, his fortress disappearing with him. Thor and Loki returned to Asgard, defeated, but wiser. Their journey to Jotunheim a reminder that even the gods could be outwitted by the cunning of the giants. The meat of poetry, Odin's quest for wisdom. In the realm of Asgard, where the gods held court in their golden halls, there was one god whose thirst for knowledge was insatiable. Odin, the All-Father, known as the god of wisdom, war, and death. Odin was ever searching for ways to expand his knowledge and power, no matter the cost. This is the story of how Odin sought and obtained the mead of poetry, a magical drink that granted the gift of wisdom and eloquence to all who drank it. In the time before the creation of the world, there was a conflict between the Aesir gods and the Vanir, the gods of nature and fertility. To seal the peace between them, both sides spat into a vat, and from their combined spittle, they created a being named Kvasir, a god of immense wisdom. Kvasir traveled throughout the 9 realms, sharing his knowledge with all, and no one who sought his counsel left disappointed. But one day, Kvasir's wanderings brought him to the home of 2 dwarves, Fjalar and Galar, who were jealous of his wisdom. They invited Kvasir into their hall under the guise of friendship, but in secret they planned to kill him. When Kvasir arrived, the dwarves murdered him and drained his blood into 3 vats. They mixed the blood with honey, creating the mead of poetry, a drink that bestowed the gift of wisdom and poetry on those who drank it. The dwarves kept the mead hidden, hoarding it for themselves. However, their treachery did not end there. Fjalar and Galar also killed a giant named Gilling and his wife. When Gilling's son, Suttung, learned of this, he sought vengeance. Suttung seized the dwarves and threatened to kill them, but the cunning dwarves bargained for their lives. They offered Suttung the mead of poetry in exchange for their freedom. Suttung, seeing the value in such a treasure, agreed. He took the mead and hid it in a mountain, placing his daughter Gunnlod as its guardian. Word of the mead of poetry reached Odin, and he immediately set his sights on acquiring it. Odin knew that possessing the mead would grant him unmatched wisdom and eloquence, gifts that would solidify his rule over the gods and grant him insights into the mysteries of the universe. Determined, he set out on a journey to find Suttung's stronghold and claim the mead for himself. Odin traveled across the 9 realms in various disguises, using his wit and cunning to gather information. Eventually, he learned of a farmer named Baugi, who was Suttung's brother. Baugi owned 9 slaves who worked his fields, but Odin, always one to manipulate fate to his advantage, saw an opportunity. Disguised as a wanderer named Bolverkr, Odin approached the slaves and offered to sharpen their scythes with a magical whetstone. The slaves were eager to accept, and after using the whetstone, their scythes became so sharp that they accidentally killed one another in a frenzy. With the slaves dead, Baugi was left without help for the harvest. Odin, still in disguise, approached Baugi and offered to work for him, but with one condition. At the end of the season, Baugi must help Odin obtain a drink of the mead of poetry. Desperate for labor, Baugi agreed. When the season ended, Baugi led Odin to Suttung's mountain stronghold. However, Suttung refused to give them any of the mead. Baugi, eager to uphold his bargain, helped Odin drill a hole into the mountain. Once the hole was made, Odin transformed himself into a snake and slithered through the tunnel, leaving Baugi behind. Inside the mountain, Odin found Gunnlod, Suttung's daughter, guarding the mead. Using his charm and guile, Odin won her trust, and Gunnlod allowed him to drink from the mead in exchange for his companionship over 3 nights. For 3 days, Odin stayed with her, and each day she gave him a portion of the mead. By the end of the 3rd day, Odin had consumed all of the mead of poetry. With his newfound power, Odin transformed into an eagle and flew out of the mountain, carrying the mead in his belly. But Suttung was not so easily outwitted. Realizing what had happened, he transformed into an eagle himself and gave chase, determined to reclaim the stolen treasure. The 2 great eagles raced across the skies, the wind whipping at their feathers, and Asgard drew near. The gods saw Odin approaching and prepared barrels to catch the mead when he arrived. Odin, with Suttung close behind, finally reached Asgard and spat the mead into the barrels, saving it for the gods. However, during the chase, Odin had to fly so fast that he accidentally let some of the mead spill into the mortal world. This mead, unlike the divine portion kept by the gods, was not as pure, but it still granted mortals the gift of inspiration. It is said that those who possess great poetic talent and wisdom in Midgard have drunk from the spilled mead. In the end, Odin's quest was successful. The mead of poetry remained in Asgard, reserved for the gods and those Odin deemed worthy. Through his cunning and deception, Odin had once again proven that no price was too high in his relentless pursuit of wisdom. But the taste of the mead came at a cost. For though Odin had gained the knowledge he sought, he knew that his journey had brought him closer to his ultimate fate, the day when Ragnarok would come, and even his vast wisdom would not be enough to stop the end of the world. As the tale of mighty gods and legendary warriors comes to a close, let the wisdom and courage of our Norse legends guide you into a peaceful slumber. Remember, my fellow adventurers, that even in the face of fearsome giants and the shadow of Ragnarok, the strength of honor and the bonds of fate can light the way through the stormiest nights. Thank you for joining me tonight. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with epic battles and the timeless bravery of the gods. Good night.